Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spoiler Warning Podcast. This is review number 792 with a review of Death of a Unicorn. I'm Christopher Schnese.
And I'm Stephen Miller.
And if you're joining us for the first time, the Spoiler Warning Podcast is a weekly film review program. Each week in the show, we're going to dive in, debate, discuss, and argue over the latest films coming to a theater near you. This week, we are going to be talking about Death of a Unicorn, but it's been a few weeks since we have recorded an episode. You've had some episodes come out in the feeds in the in-between weeks, but it's been quite a while since those were recorded. There were some travel things, some sicknesses, some scheduling stuff, but we're back. We figured we'd just quickly discuss a few things that we didn't record episodes for, or just talk about some things that we've seen recently, just to kind of cover our bases on the last few weeks. But Stephen and I did both see the film Novocaine. We did not record a review of it, but Stephen, briefly, what'd you feel about Novocaine?
I thought Novocaine kicked ass. I had so much fun with Novocaine. I don't know how well it is being reviewed. I certainly haven't heard anyone talking about it or telling people that they need to race out to the theater to catch it. But I think the premise of Novocaine is just so much fun, and Jack Quaid is just so committed to the bit from the word go. I had so much fun watching Novocaine. I laughed out loud multiple times. It is very silly. It's very dumb. I'm not going to say all the characterizations are totally fleshed out. I'm not going to say the whole movie is like meaningful or adds up to anything, but it is just a rip-roaring good time in the theater. So I was really glad I caught Novocaine. And honestly, I was a little sad. The only reason I didn't review it is we didn't have a lot of time, and Black Bag is significantly better in all respects. So I felt like I had to talk about Black Bag. But in any other week, Novocaine would be a movie I'd be dying to talk about. Yeah, I had a ton of fun. How about you?
Yeah, I definitely think you were much higher on Novocaine than me. I didn't dislike it. I enjoyed it, but I can't tell whether I mentally just thought it was just all right, or if it was one of those things where, like, being in the big theater at Alamo, but being one of 10 people in it hurt my experience watching the film. It is a silly premise. I'm not sure I kind of buy it 100%. Not like I think it's supposed to feel real, but there was too many things where I was like, yeah, you can't feel, but your body feels. And there was too much stuff where I was like, this is fun and everything, but it's a little too silly for my taste. But I did enjoy it. I had fun with it. I really wish I could have seen it with like a large audience to kind of gauge that, but that's what I get for seeing the early morning screening of it.
Yep. Yeah, I wouldn't say I saw it in a packed crowd, but there were a lot of people laughing and having a good time alongside me. I just feel like the movie has one premise, which is the guy doesn't feel pain. And I feel like they squeeze every ounce of juice from that premise. Like, they explore it from every possible angle. What could he do? What could happen to him? What could go wrong? How do we inflict more misery? How do we make his lack of pain be a strength that he can use to attack people in odd or unexpected ways?
Yeah.
As a screenwriting game of, what do we do with this core idea? I just feel like there was so much to enjoy about that movie.
Yeah. And it was set in San Diego. So that was definitely at least a fun part of it.
Yeah. Another thing I caught, which you didn't, but as you said, covering all your bases, it's baseball season, and it is the time that they launched this movie called Eephus, which actually premiered at Cannes in the Director's Fortnight last year. I didn't catch it. A million things premiere at Director's Fortnight that I am not able to see, unfortunately. And this is a very small, very, very indie movie about the last baseball game of the season in a small town in New England in, I'm going to say, the 90s. It's definitely in a pre-iPhone era. And it's just following this group of people. Some are really old, some are like college age, that are just playing this low stakes game that they care about. No one else cares about it. Almost no one is watching them. And the thesis of the movie is kind of like, baseball is slow and boring and doesn't really matter, and that's what makes it wonderful, because you can kind of meditate over how slow and simple it is. And the movie is very, very funny. I would say this is very much a comedy, but it also has just a few kind of moving moments about like how it feels to while away the hours doing something with people that you would never talk to if not for the fact that you're all playing this game together. I don't care about baseball at all, but I found it extremely charming, and I definitely recommend people check out Eephus.
And you said it's super indie, super small. Is it widely released, or is this going to be like everybody can see it in VOD in a week when it's finally available that way?
I think it's been a phased rollout, so I don't know how wide it has gone. Anecdotally, I've heard a bunch of people that saw it, but most people I hear from are in Chicago, New York, LA, or SF. So,
okay.
Take that with a grain of salt. But it's definitely hitting at least the major markets, and it seems to be getting pretty positive reviews. So hopefully they can keep going wide. I heard the director and one of the cast members was on Chapo Trap House a couple weeks ago talking about it. And I think they've been doing the podcast circuit, and that's been kind of generating more publicity for them.
Gotcha.
But they talked about the movie is set over a single baseball game, and it's all about the race to finish the game before all the light dies. Like, it's the fading afternoon and it turns into nighttime. And they talked about how hard it is on a shoestring budget to make a movie with natural light when you have to keep the sun at the right place at all times. It was just fun thinking about that as I watched it. Like, how did they pull this off on what I'm sure was a shoestring budget?
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I caught as well was I finally had a chance to revisit a little film called The Assessment, which I believe was my number 3 film, if I was allowed to cheat last year for my end of year thing, because we caught it at TIFF, and now it is available for everybody to watch. So I was really excited to go catch that again and kind of revisit it and see how I feel. I will say, I again saw it seemed like a small crowd when I watched it. For me, some of the surprises of that film obviously weren't there because I knew all the beats of the film. So on one level, this film about a dystopian future where you're only allowed to have children if you take part in this assessment and you are deemed worthy enough to have children. The satire of parenting and what it means to be somebody getting ready to have a child, all that kind of stuff, that was a little bit less for me this time around because there were no surprises in the ride that I was getting. But it allowed me to kind of sit and just think more about this sci-fi world that is there. So there were so many lines of dialogue that I heard the first time, but I was not paying as much attention to them because I was just in this relationship between these people and what they were going for. But being able to sit and just watch this film and sit in the world and kind of think about that, I definitely still highly enjoyed this film, and I really, really like it. I don't know if everybody else is going to like it or if everybody else did like it, but it's still, I'm still glad I had it on my list, and I'm still excited about that world of The Assessment, and enjoying myself.
Nice. Yeah, that is one of those movies I meant to go out in theaters and catch, and then I got knocked down with some kind of sickness for a while, and so I did not get to rewatch it. But I remember from TIFF, my core feeling was I love the, absurdism of the movie. I love the commentary, but it tries to also do world building in this sort of grand dystopian sci-fi way. And every time it did that, I felt like it was stretching itself too thin. Did you feel that on second watch, or did it still flow just fine for you?
For me, it still flowed just fine. But like I was saying, I actually enjoyed all that stuff specifically more the second time because I wasn't thinking about the other part of what this film was doing. So I got to just, the first time it was wow, that was a normal movie set in a sci-fi dystopia. That's interesting. And now I was just watching a sci-fi film that had relationship and parenting dynamics baked into it. So it's I got to watch it with the opposite framing in mind. So it stimulated me on a completely different level and made me go oh man, I guess when this character said that line, I just thought that was the way she was speaking to a child. I didn't think that she was speaking 100% truthfully in that moment. And that is actually what happens in this world. Little things, and just, it's all spoilers. So I can't
for sure.
Really
even the premise is basically spoilery. But it's good to know that works, because I would have thought there'd be a risk of the opposite, of when you're only focusing on the sci-fi premise without the delight of all the surprises the movie has, that you would feel that it's half-baked, or you would realize that maybe there's not a there, but it sounds like it actually holds up and it has plenty to offer on that side too.
Yeah.
Because to me, it felt tacked on. To me, it was like, oh, you're trying to do too many things, and I don't care about this other thing.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's hard to know if you would feel worse about the movie on the second viewing or better, because you're like, oh, I don't have to worry about all the other stuff it's doing because I'm not thinking about that stuff anymore.
Yep. Well, I will catch it for sure. Otherwise, I've just been watching David Lynch movies slowly as Alamo decides to screen them. So that's been fun. It put me in a weird headspace.
Nice. Cool. Well, speaking of weird headspaces, you ready to get into Death of a Unicorn?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right. Let's take a listen to the trailer for Death of a Unicorn and then come back and give everybody a review.
Ridley? Are you okay?
It kind of felt like it was showing me something. I get this feeling I don't think we're supposed to be here.
The Leopolds donated this entire nature preserve. And they care about a lot of things, not just pharmaceuticals.
Fine. I will sit there and smile.
Sorry, we're late.
What happened? You walked from the airport or what?
It's perfect timing.
I need you to act like everything is fine.
Is there something in your car?
A lot of species in this area are rare. What exactly are we saying this is, though?
I think we know exactly what it is.
A horse-like mammalia.
With some sort of protrusion or growth.
It's a fucking unicorn.
I don't think I should be in swim shorts for this moment.
I don't think that we're supposed to have this.
We need to study it.
Whatever it is, it seems to be the cure for cancer.
Cancer? That's the biggest one.
An opportunity for greatness, for immortality.
I've never been so alive.
Dad, please just listen to me. We need to give the little one back. Okay, bad things will happen.
There are two of them?
They're gonna kill us.
I'll do whatever I have to take care of you.
You would retreat in the face of opportunity.
That horn was rather girthsome.
Here's hoping we kill Bigfoot on the way home, huh?
All right, so that was the trailer for Death of a Unicorn. Basically, it was a story of a father and a daughter who are going on a little wilderness retreat, and while driving to their rich, I don't know, they're not technically benefactors, but like the rich family that they're going to visit on this wilderness preserve, they hit a unicorn, and that sets off a bunch of things in motion, and wild unicorn hijinks ensue. Stephen Miller, what did you think of Death of a Unicorn?
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question instead, which is, I've already talked about Novocaine, how this silly premise that was milked for all it's worth, despite being dumb, gave me such a joy as I sat there and watched it. Why did Death of a Unicorn, which is milking a very, very silly premise, using totally skilled comic actors who are all doing great work, not work on me the same way? You don't have to answer yet. You can give your own review, but the feeling I had, and I didn't hate this movie. I'm going to say it was like totally fine. You know, I couldn't shake the feeling that this movie was trying so hard to be a cult classic. It was almost cringy to watch. And I don't really know why, because the cast is solid all around. And I know I may be just generous to actors usually. I don't like to blame them. But here I really think people are doing great work. Like Jenna Ortega is obviously a star. Like the world has known that now. We loved her in The Fallout, and I feel like she's been amazing. since the moment I've seen her anywhere. Paul Rudd is Paul fucking Rudd. And like, even though the movie needs him to play a patsy about as dumb as humanly possible in order to make its socio-political point, like he does it well. And he's always fun to watch. And like Will Poulter is a serious MVP in this movie. Like he lets his freak flag fly in a way that I don't think I've ever seen before. And I'm totally here for it. Like everyone is having so much fun. They're doing goofy shit. The premise is really silly, and they go there, they go places violently, comedically, that they do everything they're supposed to do. And it is just very forgettable to me. Like by the time I left the theater, I already couldn't really remember what had happened in the movie or what my feeling was while I watched it. It feels like it is trying very, very hard to be wacky, over the top, and do a Parasite type thing where it's like commenting with violence on the upper class, and the way that they don't care about people. And it just, I don't know, it didn't do a lot for me. It just felt like half a thought that would have been better as like a cutaway gag in a sketch show where it runs for 5 minutes, and then when it's like hitting the peak, it cuts away and we could watch a different sketch. And instead it tries to tell a whole story out of it and just doesn't have enough to go on. Like I didn't hate it. I had a totally fine time. I weirdly feel biased against the movie, even though I'm sure I chuckled while I was watching it. How did you feel about Death of a Unicorn?
Well, Stephen, one way or another, you're not alone. I think this has like a 50-ish % on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
I hadn't checked Rotten Tomatoes, so I wasn't sure.
So it's definitely a thing that is not necessarily vibing with everybody. I had heard a little bit of kind of like a murmur that people are not exactly being excited about this film before I went and saw it. I want to kind of do a comparison in a different way to kind of the things you were comparing it to, and like not go with like the Novocaine comparison of things, but I want to do a little bit of comparison between this film and something like Companion, right? Mm-hmm. Companion is a silly premise film that constantly surprises you with what it's doing. And it's one of those things where it's like, all right, we're going to bring you in for this kind of premise that we all admit is a little bit kind of different and silly. And then you're going to have an expectation, and then we are going to surprise you by how much thought we actually put into it and the amount of work that went into telling a story we actually thought was compelling and clever. This film knows it's trying to be just the silly premise of like, what if we killed a unicorn and then like a pharmaceutical company was stoked because like A, unicorns exist, and B, they might be the cure for things like cancer. This film knows that just on the page, it's not bringing that much to the table. However, Stephen, this film is made by somebody who clearly loves creature feature films and is just constantly homaging, often in like a shot-for-shot presentation of films it loves, mainly Jurassic Park, but also Alien and also E.T., right? There is stuff like, when I realized what was happening, like as soon as Ridley, who if you just flip one of those letters upside down, sounds a lot like a different character from a different film, when Ridley gets pulled out of her bed by people in suits and then taken down a tube to be invested, I was like, okay, clearly this is some sort of ET homage right here. Something interesting is happening. And then as I start to go on and they pull out the little motion sensors that are clearly homaging the motion trackers from Alien, as I said, her character's name is Ridley, which is really close to Ripley. The dad's name is Elliott, which is obviously the child from E.T. Like, as this film started playing in these spaces, and it treated these unicorns as dinosaurs, and we were getting literal shot-for-shot remakes of moments from Jurassic Park. Like, when we first got into the house and there was the two descending staircases on opposite sides of the entryway, I was kind of like, that's an oddly specific arrangement of those stairs in this rich person's house. And then at the end of the film, when it's like just the raptor scene again, I was constantly having fun with this film, just watching it play in the space. Like, it knows that this film is just a film for fun, and I think it kind of heightens that by playing with the visuals of the story that it's trying to tell. The story isn't that exciting, right? The characters are overacting. They're cartoonishly evil in some cases. Everything is slightly weird. It is a comedy. And again, if you're sitting in an empty theater watching this film and there aren't enough people to fill the room with laughter, you're kind of just watching a thing that kind of hits a little deadpan. But I had an amazing time just watching it play visually in the space. Like, it knows exactly visually what it is doing, and while it doesn't reach the heights of a really interesting, compelling story with like a great narrative that pulls me in, I would just like, oh yeah, fucking do it.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had an amazing time with it, just seeing the care that went into all these scenes. There's literally a moment where somebody gets killed by a unicorn and yells, shoot her, shoot her. And it was just like, it's on the nose, but it's like, it's having fun with it in a way that, say, Cocaine Bear doesn't work for me when people are trying to have fun with its premise. But in this, it feels like a loving homage at times. And I had fun with it, and people can call me crazy. I mean, 55% of critics think I'm crazy. But I just really enjoyed watching somebody just go for it. So that's how I feel about it, Steven.
Wow. This might be one of those episodes that makes me actually reconsider a movie that I didn't think was worth reconsidering. Like, don't get me wrong. I saw like the shot for shot homages. Like, it's clear that it is playing in the creature feature space. I feel dumb because I did not think about Ridley or Elliott or the naming conventions, you know? Like, to me, and maybe part of it, so now I'm going to turn it into a criticism again. Like, it is homaging all of these amazing movies, Alien, E.T., Jurassic Park, but are they adding anything? It's not even actually the same genre. It isn't actually saying anything similar to what those movies say or playing in the same sandbox. It almost feels like a cutaway gag, like a Family Guy bit or something, you know, like, because what this is actually like is Ready or Not or The Menu, or I'm sure there are many things like this where it's like rich family, rich people in some secluded location watch things go crazy as a metaphor for society, right? Like, it isn't really anything like the movies that it's homaging, except for maybe the filmmaker likes movies and he's like, hey, I get to make a movie. Let me do other movies.
And that's the thing, is it is not trying to elevate any of its homages, right?
Right.
What it is somebody was handed this or brought it themselves. And it's like, I want to show what I can do, but I just need something to do it on. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the same director and writer for this, right? Yeah. So it's like he put the bare amount of effort into writing the script so that he can have an excuse to just show how much he loves Jurassic Park, E.T., and Aliens, right? Yep.
And it's like, speaking of the bare amount of effort, like, don't get me wrong, this is way better than Cocaine Bear. Like, way 100%. Better than Cocaine Bear. Even though it lives in the cocaine universe, you know, for many specific reasons related to Will Poulter. Night and day difference. But it is, I don't think I paid attention to just how layered the homaging was. And maybe it isn't layered. Maybe the names are the only other thing, and I just happened to not think about it.
I mean, literally, it's all spoilers, so I can't really say it. But there's just a lot. I mean, there's a shot in the trailer. It's the shot that's used on the poster, which is the snout of a unicorn.
Of course,
breathing on Jenna Ortega's face, right? Like, that is right there, right? That's the T-Rex, don't move, you can't see us if we don't move moment,
that one's obvious. I would say Alien homages are also pretty obvious. E.T., I think I know what you're getting at now when I think about it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I gotcha.
I did a visual for Steve, and that's what he's saying.
That is how we avoid spoilers when we're talking, is we pantomime.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give it that. I don't know. It just felt, I wanted this movie to be awesome, and I just felt disappointed in it. And part of it is that it just, obviously it is an eat the rich movie. Like, it's very clear, you know, the premise is clear enough on its own. Unicorn died, the most beautiful thing in the world. what kind of vampiric creatures would try to use that for personal gain.
Yeah. What kind of noseless vampiric creatures?
Yeah. The speed at which everyone becomes evil, it is like the movie didn't have enough patience to tell a story. They're just like, cut to the joke right away.
Yeah,
I would say within 20 minutes, you're already in the peak heightened, how can they get any worse than this territory? And the answer is they can't really. They can just like play the same note over and over again until the movie's over. Which is fine. You know, sometimes I like a movie that can beat a dead horse or unicorn, if you will, with a protuberance, in its snout. But I don't know. There was just something here that felt a little try-hard to me. There's also certain ideas that clearly they want to be the sort of movie that is striking that kind of Amblin heartfelt tone, or maybe they just want to homage the heartfelt tone. I don't know. But Jenna Ortega plays an orphan, not orphan. She lost her mom. Paul Rudd lost his wife. That is established right away, so I don't think it really counts as a spoiler in this movie. Yeah. And there are multiple times throughout the movie where they are dovetailing what she knows about unicorns with her memory of her mom and a trip that the family went on together. And Paul Rudd doesn't have the same memory. And they never do anything with that. They never like come back to that. They never flesh it out. They never say, oh, now I remember, or, oh, this is the memory I was suppressing. They just like hit the beat a few times in the cheesy movie way to be like, oh my gosh, this ties in with my family. And I know the movie is commenting on the cheesiness. Like, I get it, but it's just like they tee up an idea and then they forget it, or in one round of editing, they just decided to drop it for time. And a lot of things just feel that way. Like it is teed up. It wants to bring some tension that will be resolved later, and then it forgets to resolve it, or it'll have a conclusion that is the final ending point of an arc that they forgot to start. And it just feels a little messy and uneven, and like they didn't try to have it pack a punch.
Yeah, and I 100% agree. I cannot, for anybody listening, I cannot tell you that the film as a cohesive work is genuinely good. What I can tell you is this dude, Alex, had a bunch of fun making this, and he loves it. And I can feel it in the way he presents some of these scenes that maybe on their own, like if I erased my memory from any of these films, I would be exactly where you're sitting. But it's like, because I see the attention to those moments, it's like, I see what you're doing. This is kind of cool. I'm good for this. It feels like, and this is going to sound like an insult, but it's like, how like in school, right? If there was a video project, or if you took video classes, and then you have like the end of year thing where everybody shows their stuff, and it's like people are making things that they really care about, but might be a little amateurish. And then somebody makes something that's just fucking fun for fun's sake. And they're like, I love all these movies. I'm going to do all those movies in my video project. And everybody loves it because they're like, I love all those movies too.
Yeah.
This is the mainstream version of that.
I'll give it to you. I'm glad you had a good time watching this movie. I'm very glad. To me, the best I can say about it is the cast is all good. They're doing the most with the story that they're given, and it is another proof point that the Gen Z icons are good and deserve to be icons. I think Jenna Ortega and Will Poulter are both going to have long careers, and this just proves that they're good comic actors too.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to see that. No problem watching this movie. Was totally fine with the fact that I sat through it. I just wish it had done anything. And it didn't.
All right. Well, Stephen Miller, do you want to get to verdicts for this film?
Sure.
If you were going to give this a must-see, recommend with the caveat, wait for rental, pass with the caveat, or a must-avoid, what would you give it?
I feel like I was so negative, it might be shocking that I give it a wait for rental and not a pass with a caveat, but I do think the comic cast is great and they do great work, and it is a totally fine way to spend time. It's just it is a frustrating experience, but I think it is a totally silly rental that you would have enough fun with if you just want to check in and see what the cast does with whatever the fuck script they were handed. So yeah, rent it, watch it, forget it. Have yourself a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I see. The ironic thing is that a lot of this film is memorable for me because I had the memory before I watched it.
Yeah.
So while other films I exit and it's just gone, this movie is like fresh in my mind because I'm like, oh yeah, I've internalized so much of that already. I'm going to give it a recommend with a caveat. That caveat is just like this podcast. 50% of the critics who saw the film hated it or at least didn't think it was very great. I had a really fun time with it, just like smiling, going like, all right, that's cool. I like that. Okay, cool. I see what, I like what you're doing there. Like, why do unicorns have raptor claws? I don't know, Steven. but I'm down for it.
I like it. And hey, you're a little taller than me, so I'm going to give you 55%. So we're basically Rotten Tomatoes being reflected here.
Appreciate it, Steven. Glad you went taller, not wider.
Yeah, I know. I thought about it. I decided to be nice.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for our review of Death of a Unicorn. Stephen Miller, people want to find you that week. Where can they do that?
People can find me at Threads or Blue Sky at sdavidmiller or sdavidmiller.com.
People can find me staring off into the cosmos and being one of the few people that enjoyed this film. Over at ChristopherInRealLife.com or ChristopherRL on a number of social platforms. You can find the podcast over at TheSpoilerWarning.com, where you get a bunch of the back episodes of the show. If you want to subscribe to the show, you can do so in Overcast, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or wherever podcasts are found. If you want to know when the episodes go live, you can follow us at Twitter.com/SpoilerWarning, Facebook.com/TheSpoilerWarning, or Instagram.com/TheSpoilerWarning. If you want to get a hold of us directly, you can send an email to fans@TheSpoilerWarning.com, or you can use the contact form on our site. Music for this episode will come from a track selected from artlist.io, so hopefully you're enjoying that. We are going to go take off and then figure out what we're doing next week. And hope you enjoyed this episode more than most people enjoyed Death of a Unicorn.
Oh, I know what we're doing next week. It is the same reason the pod exists, and that is a little movie called Friendship.
Oh, yeah.
Which, in hindsight, I can't believe I didn't make us watch that at TIFF. I remember it being in the list. I remember liking the idea, and then somehow, I don't know what I thought was more important, but it's on me. I blame myself.
It was definitely on the list. I think it conflicted with other things that we cared more highly about at the time. But that's okay, Stephen, because we get to go watch it now, which will be great. Also, before the film, they played the trailer
I was going to ask you.
Another listed film from me last year. Yeah, Life of Chuck. That trailer is so not giving you anything, but it still warmed my heart. Hey, for all I know, 50% of my experience of watching Death of a Unicorn was seeing that Life of Chuck trailer. It put me in the right headspace to be ready to just experience joy.
Yeah, I had also... It's easy to forget that Stephen King is not only a horror author, because they managed to show 3 movies that were based on books he'd written that are not horrific at all. Like, just to, cue you up for a completely different mood when you learn that you're watching a Stephen King adaptation. And I was impressed by that.
All right. That's it. We're good. Ready to get out of here, Stephen?
Yep.
All right.
See ya.
Later.